College baseball is changing fast, and for smaller programs like Gardner-Webb, the challenges are real, but so are the opportunities. Today, I'm sitting down with the head coach of the Runnin Bulldogs to dive into what it takes to compete at the Division One level when you're not a household name. From navigating the transfer portal and NIL to building a winning culture with fewer resources, this episode offers an inside look into the grit, the heart, and strategy behind a program making its mark. It's an absolute honor to welcome to the show head coach Jim Chester. Coach, how you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing great, man. Appreciate you having me on. It's an honor, and looking forward to us jumping in head first here on some of the things that are going on in college baseball.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Just right off the bat, yeah, college baseball is changing, man. So many, so many rules and regulations being established. There's more opportunity. Excuse me, less opportunity. There's less spots, right? There's teams being taken away. There's roster restrictions. The landscape is shifting, man. How does that impact a team like Gardner-Webb? How does that impact how you go about recruiting? How does that go about how you construct a roster, man? I know that's a loaded question, but please just run me through that, man. How does all that affect you guys?
Yeah, you know what, and it's to be brutally honest. I mean, I think there's a lot of this that's still like it's pretty kind of up in the air. I mean, a lot of it's trending towards those final stages, but there's a lot of things too. Like it's amazing this summer when everything hit like on Twitter, like 34 spots, 34 scholarships. Like I literally have my phone. We were having a camp here. I turned it around like an hour later, and I got like, oh my God, you got 34 scholarships. And it's like, well, no. Hold on a second here. Like that's not kind of the way this thing's going. In fact, I'm not sure anybody's going to have 34 here right off the bat, just to be brutally honest.
Like
And
34 full rides?
34 full rides. I mean, that's the max that is going to be allowed to be given. And I don't know that anybody's in that world because I haven't heard anybody be beyond that. I mean, there's only X amount of programs in the country that got 11.7, let alone jumping to 34. I mean, it's going to be really difficult. And, to be brutally honest, us in regards to Gardner-Webb and a lot of programs that are in our same boat, we are not 100% sure that our roster is going to be right at 34. There's a chance that it is. There's a chance it might be a little more. There's a chance it still sits at 40 for next year from that standpoint. There's a lot of ramifications that are coming down with the lawsuit, the settlement, and then how it's going to be administered throughout the world. I think a lot of the things that people read and what's public knowledge are really kind of geared towards Power Four programs from that standpoint. So you're going to see a majority of the Power Fours at 34. We've seen here the last couple of weeks, this transfer portal has gone crazy again, crazy. And if you refresh Twitter, the players are citing the roster changes as the reason for their decommitments,
Really?
or them going into the transfer portal from that standpoint. So that's where a lot of this is, because there's a lot of programs that got 50, 55 guys, 60 guys in the fall, and they've got to be there at 34 by the beginning, not the beginning. They have to be there by December 1st of 2025. So they're making changes, along the way. And it's a crazy time. It's really crazy. It's, again, how we do things. Our rosters, and it's public knowledge and kind of done it this way since I've got here, is it's 50-50 between the high school player and then also the transfer player. But, when I got into this 20 years ago or playing 25 years ago, the transfer is way different then than it is today. I mean, there's a way different market for transfers. I mean, you can really, really break it down. I mean, it used to just be the junior college transfer. That was kind of the transfer piece.
Yeah.
When I played in the early 2000s, you went to college and that's kind of where you went. That was kind of the piece. And it's changed. It's changed dramatically. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We've gotten some really good players out of the transfer portal. I mean, right now we've got arguably, I mean, you could say arguably one of the best arms in Major League Baseball was here via the transfer portal.
I love that.
That was a grad transfer.
Okay.
So
do you view like the transfer portal as an opportunity or more of like a challenge for your program specifically? Do you see more players entering the transfer portal from Gardner-Webb or coming to Gardner-Webb from the transfer portal?
I think it's a big mix. I mean, it depends on the year. Let me. So in 2023, we lost our weekend rotation to Alabama, West Virginia, and then the University of Pittsburgh. And two of those three guys got drafted, not out of here, but they developed here. It was a tough year for it. Let's fast forward to this year. We have the most returners in the Big South. And we've got a lot of experience, like Big South Gardner-Webb experience, trickled in with a really talented transfer portal class. So it's the best, I think, of both worlds, which I feel like we got a pretty good team that's going to run out on the field in 2025. So that question, I think, can be answered in a different way every year.
Love it.
Just depending on who you are. I mean, I know a couple programs in our league that had really good teams because of they didn't get hit by the transfer portal. But then this past year, I mean, they got absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
And lost 20 plus guys in there. So I know it just depends on the year. You know what I mean? You got your fingers crossed. And, again, it's tough, man, because it's, for me as a coach, I mean, like you watch coaches, I mean, you're watching in football right now, college coaches going here, going there, doing that. And everyone's, kids are doing it. Well, I mean, coaches do it too. So it's like, you can sit here, we could whine about it, but you know what I mean? Coaches don't have to sit. You know what I mean? When they go in, they get a chance, they move when they want. So I got to remember that too, before you go. I mean, you just, I think you look at things now, we're not building programs, we're building teams. You're just looking year to year. And I'm so invested on 2025 right now with our eye on 26 too. But, when I got our staff, they bring me a guy and they're like, hey, listen, he's got 3 years of eligibility. It's like, man, like it's not quite the mindset anymore. And that's fine. It's just the landscape. It's the change. It's, it is what it is. I've been in this for 20 plus years. Like I've witnessed a lot of different changes to go on over the years. And this is just another one. And it's, could sit here and complain about it, or we just adapt. And like I said, we've gotten some really good players out of the portal. We have.
What's going on, everybody? We as baseball players, we as athletes, we all have something in common that we all share with one another. At some point, our careers are going to come to an end, whether we play 15 years in the league or whether we don't make it past high school or college. This is called the Money Playbook. So this teaches financial concepts for student athletes, for professional athletes. It's got a bunch of financial concepts in there that I didn't learn until I was done playing. Go on over to Amazon and check it out. It's called the Money Playbook. It's written by Mark Tepper, who is an NFLPA registered investment advisor. So he has worked with a plethora of professional athletes. Like I said, go to Amazon. We'll leave the link in the bio and the description of this episode. It's a must-have. Check it out. Let me know what you think. So you were talking about, being primed for a big 2025. So just kind of looking back, as you're entering the 5th year at the helm for Gardner-Webb, man. 2021, your first season, you had 29 wins. Finished second in the Big South, highest finish, obviously, since joining the league back in 2009. 2023, right? So 2 years later, the next odd year, 31-25, 15-12 in the Big South, man. Back-to-back wins against top 20 opponents, Campbell and Duke, in-state rivals, man, in-state opponents, man. So it's like, that's a big year. I look at things in numbers. I look at things kind of in patterns just because I'm weird like that. So I see the odd season dominance, right? 2021, 2023. It's got to be primed for a huge 2025. Call me weird, but that's how I looked at it like a player. I swear that's how I looked at it, man. That's how I felt. Like, what needs to happen then in order for this year to be prime for Gardner-Webb baseball, man? Like, what needs to happen between then and now? What needs to happen in 2025?
Yeah, no doubt. I think that no, we're excited. As a coach, you hope it's not just every odd year, but it's it's kind of a piece. It's unfortunate last year we had some really key injuries at the wrong time of the year on the mound, and some things the ball didn't go our way, and it's we could have did a better job on our end, and but I think it was a great experience for the amount of returners that we have back, and we have some really talented players that are back, and obviously health's a big piece to us having a successful year, and I would say like I said, the work ethic, the chemistry, the culture, all those type of things, and all those things are there. We just went through, what I consider the hardest part of the year is the fall. I think the fall is, and we try to make it that way too. And it's those guys really embraced it. Our young men, they worked. I mean, this is one of the toughest and hardworking groups that I've ever coached. It's pretty special to this point. We haven't played a game yet, but I know that they've done the right things to set up for success. And I know this is our time of the year to kind of breathe and relax and go. But man, I'm ready. Like I'm ready. I'm ready for that first practice on January 13th, and I'm ready for that first game on Valentine's Day. So it's like I said, I'm really excited. But again, I think it's kind of the things, and I don't want to be cliche, but like, we embrace all the things that are going on in baseball. I mean, we're working on our guys on increasing velo and increasing exit speed and understand, but we're also like, we're working really hard, on pitchability. We have guys that have done a really good job and doing themselves and not trying to be more than who they are, which is, I think, a really big piece in today's game is getting guys to understand who they are and being that person and not trying to be somebody else or trying to do things outside of their capabilities. I think that, we have a chance to be pretty dangerous at the plate too. I think we're going to have one of the better offenses inside the league. I mean, I think we're versatile. I think we're going to be able to steal some bags. I think we're going to hit some home runs. And I think our guys have got, a lot more baseball intelligent throughout the fall. Really cool. I want to give them a little bit of a plug. Aware is this camera system that is real. It is real, and I hope I think a lot of people are moving that way. And this is the first year that we've had it in full capacity, where we've had a ton of video review. We've had a lot of the player stuff, like breaking down swings and breaking down pitchers in regards to their movement and their patterns. And repeating their delivery, but we've had it holistically as a team too, just situationally. And it's just, I think, really important stuff about like what we did really well, what we need to work on, how do we grow. And it's just amazing, especially in this generation, like being able to see it and then having it and then having access to it like 24/7. I think it's just, it's huge. It's huge from that standpoint. And I never had it. And I've had years of, setting up camcorders. You know what I mean? I'm showing my age a little bit,
Old
but like,
school,
with
man.
like VHS. So, so like, you know what I mean? Like I'm from that age too. So like, being able to now have everything on a platform and be able to have it cut along with
Huge.
numbers. And it's just, man, and we got a group that's bought into believing, understanding, accepting mistakes and being willing to, make them right and grow from them. In a practice format. So hopefully you can hear my voice, man. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I can, man. These are that's awesome. So like that kind of program that you were talking about, Aware, so it's able to like provide, it's able to capture this data, it's able to capture the video and provide data on the swings and stuff, metrics, mechanics, and they have like a 24-hour library database that they can go in and see their individual swings, analysis, break down that
Yeah.
stuff.
So
Okay.
we have Yacker Tech that merges with the camera system, and then like somebody's there on a laptop as we're inter squatting or batting practice or whatever, and they're inputting who's at the plate, who's on the mound, and we have 6 cameras in our stadium that are fixated on the pitcher, the hitter, in the full field view from the backstop and the batter's eye from center field, and it just cut. It's 6 camera. Pictures like rolling, and it's amazing. And then as you enter the players that are in there, and as we track as it goes, it cuts the film, it cuts it. And so when the players are
What?
done, when they're done, they can go right to their phones and they've got it right there. And then we're able as a staff, and we meet as a team, and we're able to break down like if we execute a double cut perfectly, like we showcase it, right? A safety squeeze is executed perfectly, like we showcase it. But then if we do make a play where, you know what I mean, we do make a blunder, or we make a mental mistake, we're able to showcase that, show what we need to do, and then grow from it. It's I just know that the baseball IQ we were able to really work on, because listen, let's call a spade a spade. That's what's complained about all the time, right? With the showcase formats and the tournaments, and guys play too much and they don't practice, they don't know the game. You hear all these gripes that go on, right? And I could sit here and probably gripe about it too, but like we're going to coach them, we're going to work with them, we're going to grow. I mean, I think that's what our jobs are. And again, I didn't know everything when I came out of high school either. I needed guidance. I needed coached, right? We all did.
Absolutely.
And so that's, I mean, I've seen a lot of growth on our team kind of in some of that holistic approach, from that standpoint. And, it'll show up. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
It shows up. It
Yeah.
shows up.
I love that, man. So you guys are obviously, grinding. It's the off season right now. So we're just before Christmas. So we're in the off season right now. Guys are home. I'm assuming, or you guys are having finals. Like, where are you guys at right now?
Yeah, so our guys, they finished up finals last week. So we have a majority of our guys are at home, and they're, and I mean, we have some things going on right now where, I mean, again, it's time to relax and it's time to kind of regroup for the season. But our guys are really in a good place. I mean, they're reporting back to our strength coach, and they're going through, and they've got a 4-week plan, nutrition wise, mobility wise, strength wise, and conditioning wise, and it's just to make sure that they come back and we're feeling like they're in a good place, and they're in a good spot. We do have some guys that have stayed here a little longer, and we have some guys that are local, and we've got an awesome indoor facility here. And again, the weather hasn't been terrible. I've seen some guys trickling through here, and we're just looking for some maintenance. You know what I mean, and keeping their strength, their gains that they've made, strength and gains they've made conditioning wise, in a good place. So we don't need to take the first 2 weeks when we get back to where they were. It's time to go, and we can continue to grow as a team. But also too, as younger players are listening to this, or whoever might be, like, this is a time of year to put the bat and ball down. I mean, it's this, and Ian, you can attest to this better than anybody. Like, this game wasn't made to be played 12 months a year. It just wasn't. It wasn't. I know people think that in warm weather area. I mean, we went to the Dominican Republic this fall, and in arguably one of the baseball capitals of the world.
It's awesome. Where at?
We were in Santo Domingo.
Oh,
And
you
then
guys are you guys do something like that every year, kind of as a team, or?
No, and you can probably kind of see in the background right behind me. I got a big collage behind me from our trip. We had we went on a missions trip. We were
Awesome.
blessed to get a gift to go to the Dominican for 5 days and 4 nights, and we played games and we did God's work, and it was one of the
Awesome.
coolest experiences that I ever had with a team.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I've never done something like that with a team, and just to watch our guys in that environment and doing the mission work, and them understanding, and then seeing some of the baseball moving around them, it was pretty cool. But it was an amazing. I wish we could do it every year. We're not allowed by NCAA rules. One, you're allowed to do it once every 4 years, and then two, it was took a special gift that we got financially to allow our team to be able to make that trip. So it's honestly, it'll be one of the most memorable things I know in my coaching career, no matter what's coming forward. And even if I have the opportunity to coach in Omaha or do some of these special things you're supposed to, doing that was going to be, it's going to be one of the top things, if not the most influential thing that I ever did with a team.
It's awesome, man. I love to hear all that. Big time. So when we talk about recruiting strategy, right? We talked a little bit about kind of the portal. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Stuff like that, man. But when we talk about Gardner-Webb specific, when you're competing against schools with more resources, these bigger name schools, like how do you find the diamonds in the rough, right? How are you going about bringing in the best talent against those guys with bigger resources, bigger reach? Man, and what is the recruiting pitch to these guys to bring them on the campus?
Yeah, no doubt. I think diamonds in the rough are kind of a thing of the past. It's hard. I mean, the exposure piece is such at a high level, but in Twitter and just going through and doing an Instagram and all these things, like, it just, every young man's putting himself out there. You'll
be found if you're good enough. Like, it's tough to be a diamond in the rough. You'll get seen.
Yeah, if you're that elite guy, like, I mean, that's as old as time. I mean, even back, it's whatever, pre everything, maybe even pre the phone, you know what I mean? Like, the best still, you know what I mean? It figured out a way to get where they needed to be. They always ended up right at its highest level. It always works that way. But like you used to be able to get in a car and have connections and get somewhere and see somebody, and no one else saw eyes on them, and you'd be able to land them, and it's kind of a thing of the past, unfortunately. But fortunately for the players, I mean, it's great from that standpoint. But yeah, I think some things that the transfer portal has obviously, like I said, helped us, but also from the other port, like the bigger programs, the resource, the Power Four programs, like they're relying a lot on it, which is fine. It's allowed us to open some doors on a high school end that we've committed. We committed a few arms this for next year that we in high school wise we never would have gotten years past. They'd have been signed somewhere else, and so I think that's exciting from that standpoint. We just got 2 Power Four decommits to commit to us in the last 7 days. So
That's big.
yeah, it's huge. It's huge, and they're just and they're good players. They're raw. They're skilled. They're toolsy. Like
How
they're
did you get them?
guys. Yeah,
So like, what's the pitch? So how do you pitch those guys? That's big, man.
yeah, it's huge. I think the opportunity that you're gonna get the opportunity to compete early in your career. I think that end of it is like, hey, listen. And I think that my vision the last 5 years was to create an environment and then create an area, meaning like where our facility is, centered around player development. Our bullpen is second to none at our level, I believe. I mean, we got 4 lanes. We have 11 plyo stations. We've got every developmental tool that you could think of. We've got a metric system in Yakkertech in our bullpen. We've got everything for players to get better. We have a brand new, well, it's not quite brand new, but it's about 18 months old, indoor facility, 10,000 square feet, 4 cages, 8 racks for our weight room, a nutrition center. We've got some pieces here like that I think some other places may not quite they have or I think we're in a place where like a player can come here and walks on a visit and goes, okay, like I can get better here. And again, we feel like we're good coaches and we feel like we push our young men and do what we need to do. But also, as right, player development's a 2-way street. And the players got to be self-motivated. They've got to have have the want and the work, and a lot of the growth and a lot of their development comes at times when they're outside of practice. And we feel like we have the areas here to grow and do those things. And so I think that allows us to get, maybe the little more talented high school player now than we could have before, because they know that the tools are here for them to grow, not only from the baseball part of it, meaning like from the coaches and the daily grind and all that, but they can come up here at 11 o'clock at night and hit for 90 minutes.
That's incredible, man. So
Yeah,
you have those resources. So like that 10,000 square foot kind of indoor facility, is that baseball only?
it is baseball only.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
rivals
That's
a lot of
sick.
places. And I don't want to sit here. I'm not trying to be egotistical or brag
No,
or
no, no.
all that, but I just kind of show you we've got a pretty legit place when it comes to that. And man, it's and I can tell like feeling great about this group. That area's got worn out here this
That's
fall.
awesome.
Worn
That means
out.
they're grateful for it, right? They're grateful to be in that to have that stuff at
Yeah.
their disposal. You know what I mean? To utilize
Yeah,
that stuff.
and I'm my office, just directly on where I'm looking out. I can see the indoor right here, so I know when the music was.
Awesome.
I know when it's going. I know when it's rock and rolling, and it's like I said, quite an area. So like I said, we have the opportunity because again, at the end of the day, look, I understand like we're not going to grab a guy right now that's 95 out of high school and 6'6" and 220 or whatever it might be in the metrics, or we're not getting like kind of like the perfect molded high school player like positionally, but we feel like we work hard enough and we put the right opportunity in front of them, and we have the right facilities and from that standpoint for players to develop and get better. But they got to want to work. They got to want to be blue collar, and they've got to want to work. And if they do, it's a pretty good marriage. And I think you can turn into a pretty good player at Gardner-Webb.
Love that. That's huge, man. That's a great recruiting piece right there. That's incredible. That's incredible, man. I'll have to check out the pictures online, man. That's great. So when we're talking about the challenges that you face at Gardner-Webb, we talked about, if we are trying to compete with the SECs, the ACCs, right? They have the bigger reach, they have the bigger budget, exposure, all that good stuff. Like, man, what are the challenges that you face? As being one of those smaller programs, kind of like swimming upstream, man. You got to grind for your stuff, right? Nothing's handed to you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no doubt. And like, it's pretty, if you take, let's say you take a Bowling Springs, North Carolina, right? And you draw a 3-hour radius around this, you can hit some serious programs. I mean, you go
Yeah.
west, it's Knoxville, you know what I mean? Pretty good team there in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
You
I've heard of them.
no doubt. And you're going southwest. I mean, you can get into, Atlanta's 3 hours. So we got Georgia Tech, we got Athens and we got Georgia, and then we go east. You got Chapel Hill, you got Duke. I can start going around Columbia, South Carolina, the Gamecocks aren't far. I mean, if I wanted to, I could put together the best schedule in the country, the best, and never leave a bus or a van, you know what I mean, and get to where we need to be. But anyway, so again, I don't look at it every day, Ian, to be honest with you. Like, I wake up and I'm like, okay, I got to be, and I didn't even share Clemson. Clemson's an hour and 15 minutes from us. I forget about those guys, right? But I don't wake up every day going like, hey, listen, all right, how do I outsmart Coach Backich at Clemson, and how do we beat Clemson on a guy? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? We just kind of go, and we want to make sure that, you know what I mean? Like, we try to get into, again, we want to recruit like semi-local, right? It's a piece, like, can we keep kids close to home that fit? That's a Division I skill set from that standpoint. I think sometimes that's important from that. And, we go into different pockets of the country, man. Like, we recruit Miami very heavily. I mean, it's a place where there's multiple players, that there's not enough roster spots in that area, and there's talented guys that can help us win. I'm from the Northeast, and recruited it. It's my network. Remember, we've recruited a lot of really good players from the Northeast to come into a warmer climate, and embrace some of the facility stuff that we have, and grow from that standpoint. So, again, I'm just, and again, we know, like, again, there's a D1 or bust mentality out there. We understand that. We know it. And what you see on Instagram, and you see it on Twitter, and you see it on ESPN and ESPN Plus and those things. I mean, they showcase the top 25 programs and the Power 4 programs, and understand all that. And there's places that get 10, 15,000 people at a game. I understand that a lot of kids want to go to those places. But, if that's what all you're fixated on is some of the materialistic things, like we're not real interested in chasing some of that. We're looking for guys that, we got to pull off the field, you know what I mean? Or like, they're field rats. They're guys that just want to get after it. They want to work. They want to grow. And, you know what I mean? That doesn't always mean they fit the certain profile of what's considered a prospect, right? So, we're just going to leave no stone unturned. We're going to recruit every entity. We're looking for self-motivated young men that want a strong Christian education, that aren't looking for a big-time 50,000 student party school, that are interested in working and becoming the best baseball player they can be. Okay, that's what we're looking for, and I think we can provide a pretty good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's huge. So when we think about your program, and we think about kind of the teams that are in your radius, we talk about the huge impact of the schedule. There's obviously huge competition that is available to you guys. Trying to remain competitive, trying to maximize your spot in the Big South Conference. How do you see yourself being able to pull that off this year, man? So we talked about some moving parts. We talked about kind of building up the pitching staff, talked about moving forward, bringing the bats. How are we doing that this year in the Big South?
Yeah, I think we have a really good opportunity to compete in the top third of our league, and we've kind of done that the last 5 years. I feel good about it, even in the even years. In 22, we found our way a little later in the season. We played a really good schedule, didn't have a great overall record, but figured it out late in the year, and we were a game away from, I believe, the championship. Campbell walked us off, who a week later was giving Tennessee fits. They won our league. So we found our way in 22 and 23. We came in third in the regular season, and then we lost in the tournament. We won a game in 21. But anyway, like we've kind of been competing in that world as we got here. But I think our depth, and some of the intangible stuff that I talked about earlier is going to allow us. And then, I know I was talking about putting together, like we could, if we wanted to, like I could go nuts here with the schedule. And we probably are flirting with a little bit, if you look at our schedule, a little bit of insanity this spring. We've got a really talented slate, not only inside the league, but like what I mean outside is like we have a series with Wake Forest. We're playing Georgia Tech. We're playing Duke. We're playing North Carolina. We're playing South Carolina. We're playing East Carolina at a neutral site. So we will be battle tested. And I think that's a big piece where, like I said, and again, we got really good teams in our league, but if we're able to go out and compete and understand who we are and be our best version of ourselves against some of the top arguably there's some top 10 teams in the country there, big top 5 in some ways. You know what I mean? We're going to have ourselves prepared for conference play. We're going to have ourselves prepared for postseason play. And our intention is to win the Big South Championship this year. And so when we have the opportunity to play in a regional, like, we're going to be tested to do that. And I truly believe this team is up for that. And it's a big piece, and it's part of our recruiting pitch. Like, you're talking about some of the things we tell recruiters. Like I said, we're going to play a tough schedule every year. We want to have those type of teams on our schedule. And I want young men that are like, yeah, I want a shot at that. Those guys didn't recruit me. Okay, so every day I'm working. Do you know what I mean? I'm working every day. Like, I want to prove that I can play there. You know what I mean? I can beat those guys. You know what I mean? That's
chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, chip on the shoulder, right? Chip on the shoulder.
It's huge, man. So
huge.
It's, again, I'm grateful, Jim, for your time. Again, we're here. Jim Chester, head coach, Gardner-Webb University. Jim, last question I got for you, man. I appreciate you kind of letting me run you through the gauntlet of questions. It's been a pleasure hearing about the program, kind of what you have planned moving forward, and kind of the hype around it, man. I'm fired up to watch you guys get after it this year. So when we talk about the future of college baseball as a whole, everything's changing. It seems like things are moving around. Where do you see the future of college baseball heading? You know, we look at it right now. We see kind of like the free agent market almost of college baseball, right? It almost looks like it's arbitration out here, and kind of what we're getting, NIL packages and guaranteed this, that, all that good stuff. So where do you see the future of college baseball heading, and what role do programs like Gardner-Webb play in shaping that future?
Yeah, and I think some of those answers are still, like, to be determined in a lot of different ways. And I think that there's going to be again, like in every sport, and this is going back for a long time. There's going to be what's considered the haves and the have-nots, and they're already, there's some of that there. And again, I think you're going to see a model where players are, there is going to be you're going to. The bigger programs with the revenue sharing and the NIL, they're going to have to really be right in the recruiting world. And that's why I think you're seeing so many of them move right to the transfer portal and experienced players in regards to recruiting. And that's who they're going to scholarship and who they're going to pay, or guys that have produced.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. I mean, right? I mean, is that you tell me, right? I mean, you were,
that makes sense.
You were a big leaguer. That happened, right? The guys that they got paid more, right? I mean, those guys got paid. That's just the way, it's not, and I think that's moving to that model from that standpoint. I think the beautiful thing, and I don't know, but I just really hope, for the sake of like basketball and baseball, like the underdog still plays a role. I mean, and this is no slight, right? This is no slight to our football program, but like if they went down and played Alabama 100 straight times, they probably don't have a chance to beat. It's not the way it's all the landscape in their world's kind of set up, right? It's just not going to work. Yeah. But if we played Alabama 10 times, there's going to be a few of those games that are going to be they're going to be interesting in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, just because of our game, right? The game allows that when you play it over a period multiple times. Like, it's just the variables.
Anything can happen. Yeah, anything can happen. I love that. I love that.
I'd hate to see a separation that happens, right, between some of this stuff that goes on, because I still think even some of the programs, right, that are going to have everything, they still can lose in baseball.
Got you. Like, it's not going to be a total, like the SEC, ACC. They're not going to be untouchable to everybody else, right? Like
right. I mean, they're going to be really good, right? And they're still, they've been good forever, and there's going to be talent separate. But again, I don't know. The Yankees don't win the World Series every year.
That's right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So
absolutely,
I still think that we the little guys play a big part in it, and we can still be David, right? In
absolutely.
Goliath, and
absolutely.
I think it's important. And it has a lot. It isn't always about the money either, right? It's about the people, and it's about the group. And it's about collectively. And I think there's still a lot of great life lessons that can be taught. And I still think that there's a lot of great things when we're working and molding young men and growing them for life after baseball. But I really hope that we continue to have this uniform Division I look. And again, this has went through some of these changes over the years too. And again, I've only been at the Division I level now for 5 seasons, but I've been in college baseball for a while. And went through some of the stuff at the Division I level with the 25% rule and the roster caps, and you know what I mean, and went through some of that stuff. So here's just another version of some of this stuff, and I think hopefully it'll settle down at some point. But it's just the only really disappointing part for me, to be honest, like is fully, and I think for a lot of places is, man, you're not going to see as many young men like getting into Hall of Fames, like in different, meaning like going somewhere and having a career and like playing 3, 4, 5 years and
Breaking
really,
records.
yeah, I just don't know how much of that's happening moving forward, which is disappointing.
Yeah,
You
school
know,
pride almost. Like there's the school pride there, and taking pride in it. Man, it's like I always kind of revert back to the story. I went to Wagner College. I
right?
walked on, right. That's where I was fortunate enough. I was blessed to get there, but I got there and of course didn't embrace my grass. Didn't like truly buy into the opportunity. So I was unhappy. I wanted to transfer, right. I wanted to be somewhere else where they got cool gear. They didn't have to fundraise, right. They took plane rides and chartered and stuff. Man, that's not necessarily. I get exactly what you're saying, man. I get
Yeah,
exactly what you're saying.
and I think that like some of it evens out. I mean, again, I would think, you know, I'm just speaking like how I would feel and how I think some guys are, and maybe you'd be the same way. I mean, if somebody goes to a big time program, okay, and they're getting paid X amount of dollars and they go inside, but they're not getting opportunities to get on the field, okay. At what point does the cool gear, the locker room, the facility, and some cash, right? When does that feeling wear off to where I just want to kind of get back to what the reason I started playing, and that's getting on a field and competing and doing what I need to do. So here we are. You know what I
It's
mean?
huge.
You know what I mean? Like
We're
there's
here.
yeah, no
Gardner-Webb.
doubt.
Hey,
And
we're
I
here.
think that I think some of that'll settle out. I mean, you know what I mean? You're going through. I mean, I think there's going to be like, you know, there's going to be a point where after a year or two, like, you know, like this is all great, but it's not, it's, you know, it's real, right? But it's not, you know what I mean? You're not, the human element is gone, like the experience, the competition, the camaraderie, like some of the locker room stuff, like it's probably may not be as genuine as it was before in that way. And I think that, you know, I think for somewhere like us, we can still keep some of that. You know, again, we're a lot of us and most of college baseball and college athletics. You're not bringing in a group of young men their freshman year and getting them through and they're going through their piece and then, you know, whatever it might be, and then their junior senior year they block, like it's not going to be quite, it's not quite like that anymore. But like, you know, maybe you're getting a group of guys from a couple different programs and they're coming in under certain situations, transferring in, and you have them for 2 or 3 years, and they, you know what I mean, and they get on the field, because that's the piece, man. You never know the full potential of a player until they start playing some games. That's how they
Amen.
develop, right? It's
Amen.
that's where the true development happens is by the game experience and the life lessons you learn inside the game and growing, like I said, on and off the field. So I'm being a little long winded and going all over the place with my answer,
I
but
love it, man.
I do believe there's going to be a place for the smaller Division Ones moving forward, especially with, you know, just we might be taking a few more transfers than we did before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Got to
know, as far as
adapt, improvise, overcome. Right.
that's it. I'm past all that. Like, you know, and again, I don't want, but you know, when I got into this, right, everybody, like back when I got was first year coaching in 2004, like everybody was like complaining about the show. It was a showcase movement. Okay. It was like the showcases and doing this, and then travel ball and Legion started, the Legion showcase and all-star games started dying out. Everybody started going like, I'm not doing travel ball. I'm not recruiting that. I'm not doing that. Well, those guys aren't coaching. They're out. They've been long gone. And then the
Got to
showcase,
adapt.
yeah, the showcase piece started, and like, oh, we're not doing that. No, 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 we're not doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, and those guys are gone. And then social media took over, right? And oh, I'm not getting on that. I'm not doing that. That's crazy. I'm not being. I mean, us as coach, we got to be active on it. Like you got to do. You know, we had to adapt to it. You got to adapt to social media. You had to have it. Twitter. You got to have Instagram. You have to have it. You know what I mean? And this is just another. This is another piece.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
next. You know what I mean? And who knows what's
Absolutely.
next? It might end up coming back the way it was before. I don't know. All I know is I'm not sitting here complaining about it. We're working to adapt. We're looking to grow, and get a get a piece here. But I just know we're still going to do the same things when I get here. We're going to love these guys. We're going to work them hard. We're going with all the human element stuff is still going to be here at a high level.
Love it. Love that. Coach, I appreciate so much, sharing your story a little bit, sharing your team, what you guys got going on, what you have in store for a huge 2025. Appreciate you again. Let me run you through the gauntlet of questions, man. Looking forward to seeing you guys crush it this year, 2025. Looking forward to bumping into you at the ABCA coming up. Man, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And everyone listening, follow us this year. I feel like we're going to have a great team. And this was a great opportunity. Honored to be on here. I'm looking forward to seeing you in DC.
Likewise. Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this edition of the Nine Hole Podcast. We'll catch you again soon.